guys, so if you see some funky lighting situations, it's mainly because of the way I'm holding my mirror, and it just kind of messes with my lighting. But for the eye part of this video, I'm taking a lime green shadow first and using that as my transition shade. I just basically want to make this spotlight type of eye with nothing but greens. And you guys, you don't have to do this look at all. As far as the eyeshadow part goes, you can just put black all over your lid and call it a day. But I wanted this to kind of be a little glam. Now I'm going to take a darker green and I am going to blend that in the center, as well as add it or pack it on the outside corners. And then I am going to take a basically like a lime green shimmer shadow and place that into the center. And then I am going to apply a little bit of glitter to my eye. Do not apply this much of this type of glitter to your eyes because it was so freaking heavy. So heavy. But the next thing I'm going to do is take my liquid liner and I am going to do a dramatic wing liner. Don't pay attention to mine because they were nowhere like from here to the North Pole. Like, they were not matching whatsoever. But anyways, I totally forgot to apply lashes, but whatever, you can, you don't have to, whatever. Now I'm going to take a brown shadow, and you really need to have about 3 or 4 different brown eyeshadows to kind of make this work. But I want to take this brown eyeshadow to kind of map out where I want like my jawline and all that to be first. And so this is probably like my medium brown shadow. I have a darker brown shadow and I also have a shadow that's a little bit lighter than this. But I kind of do feel for where I am placing my shadows to kind of mimic where my actual contours and little divots in my face would be. So you saw me just a second ago do that, and that's what I did at the beginning. So on the edges of this one, which I'm using that darker shadow, I am placing it right at the edges so that it kind of has this gradient effect. And I'm going to do that to just about everywhere I apply shadows. I use the first brown shadow and then I take at the edge of it a darker eyeshadow or darker brown eyeshadow. Now I'm taking an even deeper brown, but it's like a brown black shadow, and I'm literally going even closer and smaller in width around the edges of that. And you can go all around, but I did just that little curved area. I didn't go below that and make it towards my forehead. So again, you want to do a gradient. You want to go lightest to darkest. I'm just edging up with that black brown shadow some more against that. So it just kind of makes it kind of like 3D-ish. Later on, I'm going to add black, but for right now, we're just going in with those browns. Now I decided to add a little bit to the inner corners of my eyes to kind of create that even more sunken in look. So I go in with my darkest brown, and then I kind of blend it inwards to my eye. I don't know why I drug it down in that way, but oh well. So I grabbed a little bit of my lightest brown and kind of carved out where I wanted the underside of my eyes to look sunken in at. Now I'm taking that Ben Nye aqua paint. You can take whatever you have, and a acrylic brush from Michaels. Yes, this is an acrylic brush from Michaels. They're 10 in a $5.99 pack that I got. And this is the super small one. And now I'm just going to apply that black around all of the little divots that I made into my face. And then I am going to also take a little bit more of the black and kind of create more of a gradient by adding some black and blending it into the browns. So I'm just kind of taking from the edge and blending that black inwards or towards my hairline. Taking some more black and then slowly blending it into the other browns. See right here, I just kind of wanted to smooth that out a little bit. So I took a little bit of the brown, the deepest brown shadow I had, and blended out that black some. But I did go back with a little bit of the black paint. Now I'm taking that black paint and going over the little line that I created with the eyeshadow. And then I am taking some more brown and kind of smudging that over the line and deepening up my socket area. I did kind of do this one a little backwards, but it's totally okay. We can definitely make do. So again, I'm going in with that medium brown, and then I start to build up going into the darker brown. And this is basically directly over the high point of my my face. So just try and feel for your areas. I did go back with a little bit more of that black paint, and I blended it out with some of that brown eyeshadow again. Just trying to create some little sunkenness. Now I'm taking some more of that medium brown. You can also take your dark brown, whichever you choose, but again, try and have a couple different browns. And I'm just blending it all into that little open space. And then I take some of my paint and I also blend that in as well, and just filling in this whole little area. I take a little bit at a time, mainly because I want to be able to still see some of that brown peeking through, and I want to create a nice gradient. And I want it to look so super harsh. I did order my Nye palette from Camera Ready Cosmetics, and I am going to really bring in that little area right there. I brought it inwards above my lip a little bit. At first I started off saying I was going to do the little lines, and then I said no, let me just go ahead and do the lips, not the lips, good Jesus, do the teeth. So I took like a concealer like paintbrush, and I started to kind of press it against my lips, and then I drug it up and making it like kind of thin. You want to kind of think of like candy corns. That's the shape of the teeth, and that's what they look like to me. So that's what I just kept thinking of. And then the first two teeth are always kind of big, and then you kind of make them smaller as you go out. But I always try to make sure that I have like a nice little point at the top of them. And make sure you have an even amount. So if you do one on one side, you go to the other side and do another. And don't forget your point. So again, like the lighting is funky because I kept moving that mirror. It's a two-sided mirror, and it's just kind of reflecting off my camera, and not so good for the lighting. But again, we're going further on out, and I really got kind of lazy, but at the same time it still did end up working pretty okay in my opinion. I really didn't care how nice and neat the ones on the outside were, so I just kind of really winged it. Some look really wonky, some look big, some look like, you know, vampire teeth. It really didn't matter as long as they like kind of, you know, were squared off, meeting at the middle. See that other teeth, it was so big. It was so big, but whatever. And see, on the back side, I try to just make them small because it's kind of like they're 3D, and you make them smaller because you kind of don't see them. Like if you were open your mouth, you could barely see the teeth. So that's what we were doing. Now I'm going to take one of those deep brown eyeshadows and go in between each tooth and just kind of drag the color upwards, but making sure that I get in between the teeth, just to kind of show some shadow and just create some depth inside of the teeth. And I make them even darker on the bottom teeth, mainly because that's where like the shadow like is most, versus the ones on the top where the light hits it even more. So I'm just adding a brown shadow in between each of the teeth, and this is like some kind of pointy brush It's mainly a pencil brush, if you don't know what brushes I'm talking about, but it's a pencil brush, and it was just nice and neat enough to get in the middle of them. Then I also make sure that I go back and I go in with an even darker brown shadow, and I get directly in the area where it kind of makes a little triangle. So I just make it a little bit deeper in that area, and I don't drag it all the way up. I just put it in the middle where the two teeth kind of, you know, make a triangle together. And that again is just another gradient, and it's again creating depth. I've been watching so many skeleton videos, like, so I'm taking this from some of everything. My inspiration is like 100 videos. I've watched so many. The stuff is so hard. But now I'm gonna take that black paint and another brush that is out of a acrylic set from Michaels. I did get them from Michaels, and I'm just kind of going right in the center of my lips and going all the way out on both sides. And then I am going back with the small little liner type brush and going in between the teeth that are around my lip. I just mainly want those kind of separated. I don't worry about the ones that are on the outside, because they are, you know, basically, you know, so far back you really shouldn't see where they kind of start and stop at, if that makes sense. But I do go back with the black liner brush, and I kind of just make little lines in between the bottom teeth and drag them down. I'm just adding more brown in these little areas, not too much, just adding more. And then I also go over some of the teeth on the outside with some of the brown eyeshadow. It's the lightest brown that I have, just kind of to muddy them up, because you're not really supposed to see them as much as you see them in the front, but still kind of have a shadow where you know, like, okay, those are teeth. Now I'm going to create the little nostril area. My nose is pretty big, so I've never liked making this on my nose because my nose is so wide, and I really need to practice and play around about how I want this to be. I made it small at first, and then I widened it up, and I just kept going, trying to figure out how I liked it. But then I started to fill it in with the black, and then I went in the very center with some dark brown, and it's darker than myself. Then I go back over some areas with some black liner and blend it inwards. And this is again that paint. When I'm saying the black liner, it's mainly it is only the black paint, the midnight paint. This is the midnight paint some more. I'm sorry, like, this is blurry. I don't know why I was out of focus, but oh well. And I'm just adding this on the outside. I really wish I would have made a different shape, but you know, this is just what I came with, you know, kind of freestyling it. I keep going back and forth between the browns, just adding, you know, more shadow and shading into areas. I added a little bit of white to the tip of my nose, the white acrylic paint, and I kind of blend it out, and then I go back over it with my finger. Just want to kind of draw a little bit of attention to my nose. Then I add some to my forehead area and the sides of my forehead. And I kind of blend those out with some more of the brown eyeshadow. I'm adding some details here and there with the white paint and the small liner brush. Then, because I didn't want this my jawline to be so super sharp, I added some brown eyeshadow to the lining of it, the top line of it, just to kind of make it not so nice and neat. And then I finish off my eyeshadow look, which I still never completely finished it because I never added the lashes, and I think I was really tired because I didn't even get pictures of this. But now I'm just adding some wonky little shading to my forehead and some white lines. I really don't know what this signifies, but I did it anyways. And again, I kept moving the mirror in front of me. Adding some more white liner. Just kind of making it 3D and kind of making it pop out. I didn't know this was so blurry like this. But anyways, I'm adding some jewels. I'm taking, when these are also from Michael's as well. They were kind of pricey, but when you think about it, so many of them, yeah, that's why. But adding just some little jewels here and there. You definitely don't have to add jewels, but I was trying to make it a so-called glam skull. So I just added jewels in different little places. Some of them were oval, some of them were circle. I turned them up and down, round and round. I used actual House of Lashes lash glue to apply them because it's kind of thick and it dries really, really fast. So why not? So guys, this is basically the finished look. If you enjoyed it, definitely hit that thumbs up button down below, and I will see you in.
And don't you dare forget to subscribe.